Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Excellent. That was a 8-2 thrashing of the Anaheim Ducks, who are quarter of the way into the season, are still ahead of the Oilers in the standings. So big win for not for long. It does have there is a feeling of confidence watching the Oilers in this game that they're going to turn it around. And the other really hopeful thing is just how crappy the teams ahead of them are. Like no one.
I'm confident Anaheim's going to fall to the bottom of the tank.
There's a lot of those teams don't look like very serious teams, but the Oilers they've got to keep winning, of course. But anyway, tonight was the strongest signal yet, I think, that this Edmonton team is for real. It was their second really good game in a row, and it was the second game in a row that McDavid looked like his old self. So, Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, two numbers, and one Conundrum podcast. What is your good thing?
Yeah, I'm going to go with performance of Darnell Nurse tonight. Not a perfect game. I think he got beat on a pass on the first goal, but he made some very nice passes of his own, earning 3 assists in this game, and 2 of them were really nice passes that really keyed the respective goals. One was a stretch pass, a backhand pass, but the key was how quickly he got to the puck and how quickly he dumped it up the boards, where 3 Oilers were waiting to take it to the net, among them Connor McDavid. Nurse's pass was tipped by Hyman to McDavid. He went in, he had both Hyman and Nugent Hopkins as decoys, but Connor decided to take it to the net himself and just buried one right inside the far side post. That was the one that tied it 2-2. And then just 3 minutes later came another one where from the defensive zone, Draisaitl won the face-off, and Nurse got possession of the puck. And no, wait a minute, McDavid won the face-off. Nurse got possession of the puck, and he drilled a long stretch pass that caught Nugent Hopkins behind everybody, just outside the Anaheim blue line. Clearly was some kind of planned play, but the plan included the guy making a good pass behind the coverage and right on the tape, and Nugent Hopkins took it in, made no mistake. That was the game-winning goal, and those were the 2 goals that transformed this game from a very kind of shoddy start by Edmonton and not much control of the game to, even at 3-2, you're thinking, okay, the chances of Oilers keep scoring is a lot higher than of Anaheim keep scoring. And my fear was falling behind early and then not getting their crap together for too long, as we've seen too many other times. And Nurse's passes were key to both those goals. He also made a more routine but good pass to Ekholm that Ekholm snapped home for the final goal of the game, but also blocked 5 shots. And I thought Nurse won a lot of battles in this game and came away with the puck a lot of times. And he took 1 penalty, drew a penalty, like he was just sort of in the middle of things. And this was a game, Anaheim brought a pretty heavy game, and Oilers needed some of their bigger guys to stand tall, and I thought Darnell Nurse was one of those guys.
Played 25 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
So even in a blowout, they used him heavily.
Yep.
He's been playing really well as of late. I mean, it's not like he's had every game has been great, but he's had lots of really good games, lots of good games, some great games. And this was a great game from Darnell Nurse. He's bringing his A game. He's looking like a true number 1 defenseman on the team, and they need, to win.
Mm-hmm.
To win the Stanley Cup, to make the playoffs. Let's make the playoffs first.
Yeah.
They need him to be their number one defenseman. They need him to play like this. I mean, I thought Ekholm also finally looks healthy. Finally looked like he was moving really freely, moving well, and
Hmm.
after struggling for, he's just not been himself. Wasn't close to the level that he brought last year, Ekholm, and now he's finally brought it back. And McDavid's the same thing, Bruce. Like, finally looks like himself. And that pass, the third goal of the game, which I think was the turning point of the game. Um, Both goals were nice, of course, but that goal by McDavid, where he just went in there and so I think a 3-on-1. Everyone's expecting him to pass,
Yeah.
and he just slammed it off the post. That's what's been missing from Connor McDavid's game. The legs, I think, have been there most of the year. The skating's been there, but for a while there, the stick handling was not there at all. And then the stick handling came back, but the shot wasn't there. And last game, it seemed like he was close to 100%. This was the first game where he looked like McDavid, full-fledged Connor McDavid, including the great shot, including that ability just to drill that puck when it's unexpected and to drill it hard and true and into the net. So yeah, good news on a lot of fronts in this game. Bruce, my good thing is the Oilers' first goal of the game, which was critical, and Evander Kane scored it, and but it was just and it was I'm singling it out though really because the first goal is important, but Connor Brown got his first point of the year. Man, that was good to see, and it was on a nice play, but it was a nice 5-man play. I mean, first of all, Evan Bouchard makes a strong play in the neutral zone where he takes the man and his man loses the puck because of it. And Ekholm picks it up, puts it up to Draisaitl, who hammers a pass over. I think it was going to go right through. But anyway, to Kane. But anyway, Brown gets it in the slot. And beautiful backhand pass to Kane, who one-timers it in the net with it. Man, Kane has a good shot. So it was a great 5-man play. Evander Kane's at even strength has just been dominant this year for the Oilers. He's been such a crucial player. And Draisaitl's picking it up. And finally, Brown looks like maybe he's going to start picking it up too, which would be big news for the Edmonton Oilers. If we can see like I've never seen, I don't remember, when I'm watching the other teams, I don't watch the other players too closely, generally speaking. So I don't have a real strong image of Connor Brown's A game and what he's capable of bringing. And I think a lot of Oilers fans are in the same books. They don't really know his A game. And I don't think we've yet to see it. We're yet to see it. But if he can start doing that, Bruce, what a difference that will make for the Oilers. Because by all accounts, he's a really strong two-way player in the kind of similar to Zach Hyman. So that was a nice play, and it should take a little pressure off him.
Of course, it hasn't stopped some from rushing to judgment on the player, but I think he's clearly starting to come, getting his game starting to come into focus, and he's getting more good looks and more good things are happening from game to game. It's nice to see him finally find the score sheet in any manner at all. And it was, good pass, good first assist as well. And he was one of 2 Oilers who finally got his first point tonight, the other being Adam Ernie on what I can only hope will become the patented Desharnais to Ernie to Hamblin goal scoring play. They're going to cut that puck in 3. It was Hamlin's first home goal. It was Ernie's first point in Edmonton. It was Desharnais' first 2-point game as an Oiler. So they're all going to want a piece of that puck.
That was a lucky goal, because
got a good bounce. Yeah, he sure buried it though. Ooh.
He sure did bury it. Yeah, and if James Hamlin wants to stick in the NHL, he's taking a step in that direction. He looked out of it. I remember heading into this year, we were talking about who's the Oilers' fourth-line center going to be. His name hardly came up, and I think I remarked on it on the time we had been discussing it. And I said, who we haven't mentioned is Hamlin.
Right.
And here he is. He's in the NHL again, and he scored a couple goals. And
Hmm.
if he does that and takes care of his own end, well, we'll see what happens. Bruce, your bad thing. What is it?
Yeah, I'll have to go with um, the start of Stuart Skinner, like just the first few minutes. And the first goal was it looked like it should have been a 3-on-3 that became there was a narrow passing lane and they executed, and he just didn't quite get over on the pass that maybe he should have anticipated. I know I sure did watching TV. I could just see it, the lane, and thinking it's going to go to that guy and he's going to put it in the net. Anyway, but that one, it's not so much on the goalie, but the second one, and again, there wasn't perfect hockey in front of him, but the guy Max Jones, not exactly a sniper, and he gets the puck in the high slot and lets a quick shot go. I mean, I'll give him that. But Skinner's pad, he anticipated and he was down. His pad was on the ice, and he actually lifted his pad off the ice as the puck slid under it. And that's where, sometimes those fast twitch muscles, if you're in a good position, maybe hold it and see him move like it was like he was playing dodgeball, trying to get out of the way of the puck. And I know he wasn't, but that
It's
was
just
the
one of those
impression.
things.
Just one
Yeah.
of those things. Your puck's doing this, and you're reacting by doing the exact wrong thing, or just sort of dragging your pad on the ice was the one. And at that point, right after his fine game, getting a shutout last game, and he came out looking like that, and it was like the only two decent shots they had on him, and somehow both, found a hole. And that's a pretty tough start. And to his credit, I mean, it's hard to have too many real bad things in a 8-2 win. And to his credit, he bounced back, and I think, yeah, in the end, he wound up with a 9-12,
24
or
shots, 25 shots, something like that.
yeah, it was 23 on net, and just the two that went in. So once again, he had the save percentage over 900, which has been the case in every single Oilers win this season. Is goalies with decent save percentage. I used to be able to do this stuff. 913 tonight. So.
Yeah, there was some shoddy defending, but that to be like initially I was thinking, okay, this is all on Skinner. Then I kept watching it, and it was like it was a tough shot because it wasn't quite a brownie. The shot named after Connor Brown, where you take it on your backhand and you shift to your forehand, which Draisaitl is famous for executing, but it was kind of a spin move shot, and I believe it was because the guy gets it. He's kind of fronting the Harney, and then he
Right.
moves around to Harney and shoots. It's not as easy a shot as you'd think because
Mm-hmm.
the player's moving and the angle of his shot's constantly changing, which is why Skinner moves. I think because he gets fooled at one point by he thinks, oh, the angle of the shot's going to be this. The guy keeps moving then, and the angle of the shot's something he's not expecting. So that is not that easy a shot. And there was also DeHarney's defense on that wasn't great. McLeod's defense on the point shot pass wasn't great. And Kulak made a turnover in the corner to kick it
Mm-hmm.
off the sequence of pain. So there was some shoddy defending. And
Mm-hmm.
and I agree, not great goaltending. You'd like to see that save. And he did look
Mm-hmm.
really bad on it because it wasn't a particularly wicked shot, but it
Yeah.
was sneaky. It was a sneaky shot because it's like a backhander. Sometimes you don't know where the backhander is going to go. I think on Hyman's breakaway on the backhander, the goalie didn't know, and I think Hyman was actually trying to raise it, and he
Mm-hmm.
unable to do
Just
so, but
beat
it
him
went
to
in
the
anyway.
post. Yeah.
Yeah, just backhanders and spin shots are hard to stop. First, I'm going to return to the first goal for my bad thing, and it was in the end a 3-on-3 because Kane came back in the play, but and here we go again. This is this thing we have remarked on a number of times. It's the slack check instead of the back check,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the guy who hustles back. In this case, Evander Kane. He's caught up ice. It's a 3-on-2. He hustles back. He turns it into a 3-on-3. But just in the moment where he's won that battle, where he's willing to, he's ready to stop completely the goal against. He stops skating. And he starts cruising. So instead of getting right on the player who's going, Max Jones, who's going to the far post, instead of getting inside his body, instead of taking him out, instead of being able to lift his stick, he stops skating. And because he stops skating, he doesn't, not only does he not stop the pass across, but he's not there to lift the stick and he's not there to make the check. And we have seen this, we see this repeatedly. And again, I'm mystified by it. Even as common as it is, the slack check mystifies me. Why aren't they taught? I guess they can't make contact with that player, but why aren't they taught to go stand right beside him and get their body in between,
inside of him,
get inside of him, get between him and the net. That's when your back check is over. And until then, it's a slack check. And that's what cost the Oilers the first goal, was Kane's slack check.
Yeah, it looked like a routine 3-on-3, and I watched it developing, and I thought, I know where this is going. And sure enough, pass got through, and the forward didn't pick up his guy, and defenseman didn't cut out the pass. Goalie didn't make the save. Same stuff we've seen too often.
I think the slack check might be because of an optical illusion. You think you have the passing lane covered. You think you've done enough to stop. You've worked hard enough. You're back. You're ready. And you think you're going to be able to get that pass. And then because offensive players are so good, some of the time you don't get that pass. But because you think that you're in the right spot, you don't take the extra step of going the extra mile and getting in the right position on the guy between him and the net, because you're pretty sure you've got it covered. That's my theory on it. And if it wasn't a perfect pass and a great shot, he did have it covered. But these are NHL players.
They tend to make perfect passes sometimes.
Tend to make perfect passes. 1 out of 3, and 1 out of and they can do that. They can execute that play. So that's why you have to take that extra. Like, the highly disciplined defensive team will learn to not just get in that position to knock down the pass, but to make sure if he does get the pass that you can lift his stick at the last moment. And that's where Kane was out of position on that goal against. Your numero, Bruce.
Yeah, this is a number of born in frustration. The Oilers scored enough goals tonight to win any of the 3 road games that they lost, and they allowed few enough goals to win tonight to win any of the 3 road games that they lost. There was a big offensive effort and good defensive efforts. They seem to go together. They always win by big scores, and it's their problems have been in close games where either they haven't been able to get the big save or they haven't been able to get the key goal when they need it. And then tonight, of course, they had lots of goals and a very, very comfortable margin of victory. And it's to the point now where the Oilers have outscored their opponents by 4 goals in the last 5 games, even allowing 3 empty netters. And somehow they only got 4 points out of 10 because the distribution of those goals hasn't really worked in their favor. So it's more a knock on what happened in the past. I mean, I'm not going to complain about an 8-2 win, just where was 1 or 2 of those goals or 1 or 2 of those saves in those close games that they found ways to lose on the Southeastern road trip.
Yeah, the Oilers are goal differential is -8.
Yeah, it's suddenly
and
closed.
Seattle, who has 21 points in 22 games, is -16.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have that. Yeah. Yeah, you're counting goals like the Russians did in the 72 series, Bruce.
Yeah, they won that series.
When they won that series, because in total goals they had more than Team Canada.
32-31. They even have some kind of a plaque set up somewhere outside of I'm not sure if it's still there, the Luzhniki Ice Palace, where they They lost that series by any traditional measure, which is 1 games.
They lost that series by any measure in any tournament in the history of hockey. Is the truth. Um,
Yeah, tiebreaker only works when you're tied, fellas, and you weren't. If the last game had been tied, they would have claimed the win on a 32-30 goal differential.
Well, that would have hurt.
Yeah,
because yeah.
And they won. The Russians won Rendezvous 87 on goal difference because it was just a 2-game series, and NHL won 4-3 and lost 5-3. So the Russians claimed the series on straight goal differential, but they did not win in 72.
Bruce, my number is around Connor McDavid, and of course he's got 9 points in the last 2 games. After 16 points in the first 16 games. So that's 16 points in 16 games is pretty good for most players, but for Connor McDavid, it's not good at all. But 2 points and 9 points in 2 games is it's safe to say he's back. And man, do they ever need him? But I just wanted we do this scoring chance project, and I didn't see anyone say it was just bad luck or anything that McDavid was scoring less, and it really wasn't. What we noticed is that in the last year, for instance, in the 82-game season, he made major contributions to 6.9 grade A shots per game, so almost 7 per game last year. In the first 16 games this year, his average was 5.1 per game. So almost 2 major contributions to grade A shots per game difference. He was really struggling in those first 16 games, and you could see it, and he just wasn't producing on the attack as much. In the last 2 games, let me just update this. In the last 2 games, 97, yeah. He's had 22 major contributions to grade A shots in the last 2 games, 12 the previous game and 10 this game. So, nice. Yeah, he's really fired it up. And man, is that ever great to see?
Also.
The Oilers absolutely need this player, and which leads to the conundrum. Can Connor McDavid still win the MVP this year? Bruce McCurdy, can he get it done?
Well, I think in theory, yes, he can. I think it's unlikely because I think to win a vote, he's going to have to be the actual MVP by such a convincing margin that if it's close at all, they're likely to share it around a little bit. But we've just now hit basically the 1/4 of the way through the season mark, and just basically 2 games, McDavid has pulled himself out from the dregs of the scoring race to on the cusp of the top 10, just like that. And whilst it's unreasonable to expect 9 points every 2 games, it's fairly reasonable to expect that he's going to average a lot closer to 2 points per game than 1. And I think we're just seeing the start of that. We've seen some hard regression towards the mean just in these last 2 games, and he's coming on. And of course, it also depends on the MVP as much a narrative as it is a statistical accomplishment, and the narrative of guys carrying teams into the playoffs is a very popular one, and maybe starting from behind and having to do a big comeback to make the playoffs. Dangerously assuming that they do make the playoffs, which would be the only way that he would get votes at all. I think possible, but I would say the odds are already pretty hard against it.
I think this actually helps his narrative in terms of, so let's say he leads the Oilers to the playoffs at this point, and he's the old McDavid for the rest of the season. So, I think this helps his story in terms of winning the Conn Smythe, or not the Conn Smythe. Got a little ahead of myself there. The Hart Trophy, because it just shows when he's not. It shows how valuable he is to the Oilers and how dependent the Oilers are with him. That if they had another season where all the players are getting 100 points, and he's one of them, even with a spectacular year. Well, he probably would have won it then, but this really does highlight, like, if he's not 100%, this team is going nowhere fast. And if he can coincide his game coming around with the Oilers going on a huge run, that will establish a narrative early in the year that they're riding McDavid, and they were desperate for him to get his game together, and now he's lifting this team on his shoulders and carrying it to the playoffs. So I think that's a story that could work for Connor McDavid in terms of narrative. When I look at the competition too, it's interesting because Colorado has a couple of candidates in McCarr and McKinnon. And Vancouver has a couple of candidates, I think, in Hughes and Elias Peterson. But because both teams have two candidates, that might impact them. Because both Hughes and Peter, like, it's hard to choose between Hughes and Peterson, and it's hard to choose between McCarr and McKinnon. I think there's I wouldn't be surprised if Cale McCarr is the main rival this year because he's such a fantastic player. He's just so brilliant. And if he stays healthy and he gets like 110 points or 115 points, which he's capable of doing, I think Cale McCarr is going to he's on pace for a 120-point season, for instance, and almost plus 70. So if Cale McCarr has that kind of year, he will be in the running. But I think McDavid's got a real shot at it. I wouldn't say he's the favorite, because because Colorado's a good team, Vancouver's a good team. I don't really see anyone else. Kucherov leads the league in scoring at 35, but nobody likes that player, especially Bruce McCurdy, so he can't win. And
before,
maybe he could win it. How's Tampa doing? I don't even know.
They're hanging around. They had to go without their starting goalie for the first 20 games.
Oh, there you go.
And they survived that. And Bazzi came back the other night and played. They went to Carolina, the same team that stomped Edmonton on Wednesday, 6-3. Did you see what happened on Friday? Tampa went in there and Vasilevsky played his first game of the year. Ranta, who left the Edmonton game after the first period, he started for Carolina, and he played the whole game on Friday. He faced 14 shots and he let in 8 goals. He was the first goalie in the history of save percentage, which started in 1955, the year I was born. I mean, that's how old save percentage is. First goalie in the history of save percentage to play a whole game and stop less than half of the shots that he faced.
Oh,
he made 6 saves and he let in 8 goals.
Wow.
Andy Ranta. And Vasilevsky, they won that game 8-2, same score as tonight. But it sounded like the flow of play wasn't exactly in Tampa Bay's favor. But every time they got over the blue line, they would shoot one into the net. So that was one for the ages.
Yeah.
Too bad for Edmonton. Ranta came out after that first period. Maybe could he? So
could have used some of that luck themselves.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Anyways, McCarr, man, oh man.
He's such
a player.
He really is.
He and Quinn Hughes are tied for the league lead, plus 18 already.
Mm-hmm.
And McDavid's still in the minuses. I mean, not that they necessarily decide that trophy on that stat, but it is part of the package. And when you're outscoring by large margins with the player on the ice, that's a vote in his favor. And defensemen, they almost never win the Hart. I think Pronger was just about the only one in a long, long time when he won it for St. Louis in 2000. And since they had the Norris, it's like, well, the best defenseman gets the Norris, so we don't really give him much play for MVP, and it's not really fair at all. But those two guys both have their hat in the ring in a very serious way already. They're both, 33 points for Hughes in 22 games and 30 points for McCarr in 20 games. They're both at 1.50 points per game playing defense. So they're major forces to be reckoned with this year.
I'd say the favorite right now, in my estimation, is Elias Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
and with Nathan McKinnon in the number 2 spot.
All right.
And they're both such fantastic hockey players. But I think McDavid can catch them. So we'll see what happens. Bruce, let's leave it there.
Yeah, let's leave it there, David. Nice say. Easy win tonight. Got the lead early and just kind of cruised.
Yeah.
Kind of sloppy, but was a game that was not in doubt from about the really end of the first period on. So nice
Thanks
to
for
have
talking.
one of those. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.